On this episode of Sea Level, I sit down with Rennie Curran, keynote speaker, author, and former NFL athlete. Hey Rennie, thank you for coming out, man. I appreciate
thanks so much for having me.
So I've been actually following your content, and
Wow.
you've been doing a lot of speaking, and man, I really appreciate just speaking life into a lot of these people and leadership and stuff.
Definitely.
So, for the small majority of people that don't know who you are, give me a little bit of your background, how you got started, how you got into football, getting drafted, all that stuff.
Man, it's a long story as it always is, man. But my background basically starts with my parents. I always talk about them. Both Liberian immigrants who came here in the early 80s. My mom came here on scholarship to Emory to get her master's in nursing around 84. Didn't know her way around, all the typical immigrant story, $10 in her pocket.
Right.
Just worked super hard, man. My father came once she was done. He bought into a shoe repair franchise called Hakky Shoe Repair Shop, actually out in Kennesaw at Town Center Mall. Okay. And so I grew up right in Atlanta, off North Druid Hills, Buford Highway, for those of you all listening from Atlanta. We moved to Gwinnett County when I was 10 years old. That's when I joined the GFL Brookwood Football. And we didn't even know, we had no clue that this was like this powerhouse football program, but I was blessed to be in a great community, man. Met my Little League coach there, who just, was diehard Georgia fan.
Yeah.
His son was the quarterback. I played running back. And
so you started out as a running back?
Yeah, started out as a running back.
Yeah.
Actually started out as an offensive lineman. I don't tell anybody
Oh,
that. My first year, I didn't know anything, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. But as I grew and as I learned, I became a running back. And we went to my first University of Georgia game, and that's when that dream was really planted. And from then on, I was like that diehard fan, listening to Larry Munson, watching David Green and Pollock and Thomas Davis, and that was just my dream to be that next kid out of Snellville to be the hometown legend, man. And so fast forward to high school, didn't really get along with my coach my freshman year, got moved to linebacker, got pissed off pretty much, and started hitting everything moving. And it's
like Waterboy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tell people. It's Waterboy, literally.
Yeah.
So I just developed this mentality, man, where I just tried to turn myself into this machine. And at the same time, going through high school, I faced a recruiting whole experience where I was told time after time that I was undersized, too short to play in the SEC. And that just motivated me. That, along with my parents, their work ethic, seeing the just the struggles that they went through during the time that I was born. By the way, there was a civil war taking place in their home country of Liberia. So that was a big part of my foundation, was seeing all the sacrifices that they made, sending everything that they made back home. Building themselves not just for themselves but for their family.
Right.
And I took a lot of that with me on the field, and was fortunate enough to overcome those obstacles, being undersized, family situation, of obstacles, and was able to get that scholarship to the University of Georgia, man.
How did you use that? So like a lot of times, no matter what industry you're in, you're gonna have people that are telling you you're not good enough, you're not tall enough, you're not whatever, you're not good looking enough, right? Whatever it might be. How were you able to kind of overcome that and find that within that, like, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to that. I can do this. Right.
I mean, the big part of it is my foundation.
Yep.
I had a strong foundation of faith, a strong foundation of just heritage, knowing who I was.
Yeah.
My parents did such an amazing job, and my grandparents. My great-grandfather was a Methodist bishop in Liberia, but I knew my heritage. I knew that my great-grandfather was a chief. I knew all these things that just gave me a self-empowerment.
Right.
And beyond that, like I said, my faith, I knew that my strength came from me, or came from God, not from me. And I just worked hard, man. I leveraged every single thing that I could, every tool that I had that was God-given. My speed, my mindset, my faith, all those intangibles that you can't coach.
Right.
And so those are things that really set me apart, man, was in those times. And then having the right people around me, environment is huge.
Huge, yeah.
Like I said, I had an amazing community. So, I mean, janitors, there would be janitors who would meet me at 6 a.m. to open up the door for me to watch film. Lunch ladies who would give me extra cookies and juice, so when I was trying to hit 220. Coaches who spend extra time with me to learn physics, because it's not just football. There's so many other things.
Right.
And that's just overall metaphor for life. You have so many different things that come at you, but do you have the right environment? Do you have the right foundation? Do you have the right intangibles that create success? So that was a lot of how I was able to overcome those challenges.
Your support system. It's
Right.
always good to have a really good support system because the storms are going to come.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's going to happen. And when you have somebody to lean on, it makes it so much easier to kind of navigate through that.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes you're the one who brings some of those storms on yourself.
Right. It all happens internally.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's important, too, because some of us get caught up in success, when things are going really well. And I found myself in those moments where there was newspaper articles starting to be written about me. I started getting the 4-star rating, started climbing, where I kind of lost myself. I lost track. So them people who ring you by the neck or by the ear be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, straighten up.
Yep.
That was probably the most important. I mean, as you know, being a teenager and navigating success at a young age, man, it can be very, very challenging. So you have to have people around you who aren't just yes people, people who are real, and people who, like I said, remind you of your humble beginnings.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, especially like in the entertainment business too,
Yeah.
because you see it a lot,
man.
just starting out, you get the big break, and then it's like,
they lose themselves.
You're losing yourself, so it's so important to kind of have your counterbalances, around you.
Definitely.
And I think what you mentioned, earlier is like having that grounded faith, and knowing who you are. Like, man, if there's like a magic pill or something, that you can, like, I could give people, it'd be like, you take this and you'll instantly know who you are. And I think the earlier on in life you can get to that, to where you know what you were born to do. The better path journey, if you will. You're gonna have, because it's the ride. That's what it is.
I totally agree, man. Like, if you don't know your values, which a lot of people just don't, that their values are they can become masked in what they do, or they can become part of, like, just what kind of makes them as far as the money and the fame and all those things. So if you don't know those things, you'll be up in here, you'll be, down, especially when challenges come or when a lot of success comes, you lose yourself. But I feel like once you're clear on those things and you constantly evaluate your values, per se, then you'll challenges will come, but you'll be able to have that sustainability. Yeah,
and goals too. So like a lot of people, it's like, oh, I'm going to get the Heisman, or I'm going to get the Academy Award, or whatever it is. That's great, and you might actually get it. But what happens when you do? What's next, right? And I think that's something that people need to realize, that it's not. It's great to have goals, and you should have goals. But if you gotta realize that it's not the destination, it's the journey. Right. It's the process.
Definitely.
Learn to enjoy the process. So these may be little battles that you win, but don't make it the end all be all, because what happens is when you obtain that, when you win that, when you get drafted to the NFL, it's like, all right, what next, right? You need to have that plan. You need to have where's my life going, and let me enjoy these wins along the way.
Right. I totally agree. It's definitely about the journey, and so many people miss out on the true success of reaching that level because they're so focused on just that end goal. Like you said, they don't take the time to account for, what were these points of incremental growth that I had, the relationships that I built, what were the intangibles that I built along the way. So a lot of times for us as athletes, it's like, we might make it to the NFL, but like nothing's enough, right? So even if we make it to the NFL, it's, I didn't play 5 years. Even if we make it 5 years, I didn't make it to 10. Even if we make it to 10, it's like, I didn't make it Hall of Fame. It's like,
There's always more.
There's just always more.
Consume.
Yeah, so you really not only have to have those goals, but you have to know like what your true meaning of success is. What is that? And then beyond that, I always tell people too, when I go out and speak, is what's your mission? Like, what's your overall mission, that overarching theme that's bigger than you? So it's not just about reaching your goals. Like, who are you trying to impact? Who depends on your success? Like, I think about my daughter, I think about my mom, I think about the young kids in Liberia who will probably never have the same opportunities that I have. And like, that's my mission, to change something for them. So it's not even about me. And so
it's always got to be bigger than yourself.
Yeah, bigger than yourself, man. So those are a lot of things that really drove me. And I feel like so many people, they don't have a true mission for what they do. So it's like anytime they hit a roadblock or whatever, they get burnt out so easily because it's just about them and their success, or getting to that raise or whatever it is. And I've been there, man. Like you talked about, getting to that success, and you just like, dang, what now? I remember when my first signing bonus, the first installment hit my account, and I was fresh out of college, 6 months removed. I had left early from University of Georgia. I logged onto my bank account. Bank of America, whatever.
Right.
And I looked at my account, man, you know, all the months prior is in the reds and drafting fees and all that good stuff. And then now I see this installment of this large sum of money, man. And I was in Nashville. I just got my townhouse, got the furniture, got the TVs that were watching me more than I watched it. And I was just like, dang, man, at 20, I'm 21, 22 years old, man. I made it. Like, I'm good for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden I came off that high, and it was just like, man, is this it? Like, is this all there is to life? And I remember, like, I was by myself, man, and this time, like I said, I just moved to Nashville, so I was lonely as crap. My family was back home, away from my daughter, and that silence became so loud. Like, I just realized, man, this isn't all there is. I have this money, but I'm still the same person. Like, I still have the same emotions. I'm lonely. Like, I don't, you know? So I can only imagine those people who are in the entertainment industry or who are billionaires that still, they have all this, but still have that emptiness inside.
I know people that, like, I mean, they're extremely wealthy. They're the most miserable people that I've ever met. And then I've met people that just make a decent living. You know, they take their vacations and stuff like that, and they're happy. And you know, when we were talking about, like, how do you define success? Like, I define success on happiness. You know, like, what's your level of happiness? Like, what, you know, that, to me, that's being successful. And I think the people that, you know, make money the success, well, there's always, you got to consume more. And then what happens when, 2008, when the market crashes and you lose everything, right? Where does that leave you? You know, so it can't be money.
It can't. And I always think about the fact that there's certain things money cannot buy you. Like, money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you, like, a loving family, right? It can buy you a companionship, but it can't buy you, like, real love, you know? Like, there's so many things, man. Short term. And I remember, man, taking my family back to Liberia. Like, that was one of the first things. It was always my dream, because I had never been able to go because of the Civil War. But I took my family, man, after 20 years. We all went back to Liberia after my first year in the NFL, man. And I remember going to both my parents' villages. My mom's village, it was cool. It was kind of close to the main city of Monrovia. Had a huge celebration. It was awesome. My dad's village was, like, way out in the middle of nowhere. Like, just, I mean, like, you went back 30 years almost. I mean, just the struggle was real. I mean, when it hit, like, 9, 10 o'clock, those generators cut off, and it was pitch dark. And I had so much respect for my parents, like, just learning of everything that they've been through. But what hit me the most, man, was just seeing the people in those environments and just how happy they were. And, like, they had no concept of Facebook. And we're still happy as can be. The women were, like, 6 years old, but they look young. Like, it was just amazing, man. I came back, and since then I've been, like, a minimalist, honestly. Because I just realized, like, that you can have so little. It's still, like, there's just so much things that are bigger than just, you know, how many likes you have. Or, you know, I mean, what type of...
Or arguing over a cup of coffee or whatever. Like, do you realize there's people eating mud pies? Like, come on. You know, it's like, put it in perspective.
Exactly. Perspective is everything, man. So
I know you got a book coming out.
So
let's talk a little bit about that. Or is it already out? It's already out.
Man.
Okay.
I've written 2 books, man, and that was one of the most powerful things that I did early on, which kind of led me to where I'm at now. So let's go backwards to end of 2011, man. I had just gotten cut from the Tennessee Titans. So my ultimate dream that I had, now just I'm questioning it. I'm back home, like, in a place that I never thought I would be. Like, you never really hear of a 3rd round draft pick getting cut, but the lockout happened, coaching staff got fired, Jeff Fisher and his guys. New staff came in, and they weren't fond of undersized linebackers, so I became that stepchild. But back home, man, and just went through months and months and months of just, like, learning who I was for the first time. Like, I had to take that jersey off and really just look myself in the mirror as Rennie Curran and just be like, man, who are you? How do you provide value outside of football? Like, you know, how can you solve problems? I started asking myself all these questions, man. And during this time, I realized that, you know, that there were so many points of value that I could present to the world. And I feel like that's where entrepreneurship starts. Is how can you solve problems for somebody else? How can you provide value? So I landed on one of the things which was my story, and the fact that where I'm at now, being in a place of uncertainty, being in a place of failure, that there will be so many other people in this place, and that I could either, just drown myself in sorrows and woe is me, or I could use this point as a lesson, and teach other people how to overcome this time of uncertainty. How do you develop, those characteristics that can help you to overcome this time of challenge and time of wonder, where we all get to, whether you're a recent grad or whether you're a person like my dad who lost his business after 20 years, or whether you're somebody who goes through divorce or, whatever. There's just points of transition. So that's where I started writing my book from, man. And I had no idea that it was going to lead to me becoming a speaker. But at that time, I was just like, man, number one, I need to vent.
Yeah, right.
And number two, maybe I can help somebody through what I'm going through. Yeah. So it's a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy in that time. And so started writing it 2011. Got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and went through basically the same situation where I was out there starting, everything was good. Draft comes up, they draft the guy second round, and done with me.
Right.
So after I got cut for the second time, that's when I was like, all right, I got to finish this book. And so re-enrolled back at University of Georgia to finish up my business degree. And during this time, I'm writing. I released it in 2013, and it was crazy, man, just seeing the response, the impact, and I've never really looked back. Played in Canada and whatnot, but since then I always saw my career through the lens of leadership, through the lens of culture, through the lens of business, and it just changed everything for me. I started building my personal brand, built my website. I started building myself on Wix, and then went on Fiverr and just like paid somebody $50 to freshen it up. But started speaking, just started really just growing everything, man. Reading a ton of books, workshops, meeting with business mentors, man, and that's where it really started.
I have so much respect for people, in the sports industry. So for with me, as an actor, I mean, I can act at the age of 90 years old, whatever, right? But in sports, there's a time limit there, right?
Yeah.
And going back to what we were saying is what happens next, And I think, when they, when people in the NFL, and they think in that mindset, it's like, all right, what am I going to do? So, I appreciate you, it didn't end there for you.
Right.
And you were able to, come out with a book, and now you're doing speaking engagements. So, man, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, man. No, and it really, going back to what I said about foundation, it started with my parents, man. And it kills me so much that you have parents, so many parents, who from the time their kid turns 6, 7 years old, they're putting the first thing is sports. Yeah. And that's it.
Right.
One sport to the next.
Right.
If it's not baseball, it's football. If it's not football, it's swimming.
Yep.
And that's it. Mm-hmm. My mom, she got me into music first. So I started playing the piano. Then I got started with the drums. Then I, by the time I was in middle school, I played in the orchestra, played the viola.
Oh, wow.
And so just that difference created a whole new identity for me. So it wasn't just about sports. I always knew that I was more than just an athlete.
Right. You weren't just classified in one little section.
In one little box.
One little box.
And I tell parents all the time, expose your children to other things. Yep. It's okay for them to understand that, their value does not just come from sports. Yeah. I see so many guys and this is why it's so tough for the transition, because imagine from the time you were 5 to 10 years old, the only time you heard a hand clap or a pat on the back is when you did something on the field. Right. So what happens to your identity and your self-worth when you're removed from that? Right. And it's so powerful. And the same thing with people in acting or any other industry who start out from young. Right. Your identity cannot be defined by something that you do. Right. You have to understand that it's just a vehicle to get you from one point to another. So that's a lot of what I talk about now.
And sports, entertainment business, I mean, you're gonna face people that are gonna tell you're gonna get told no. I got told no so many times, in auditions or tryouts or whatever. I
got a funny story about that.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Man, so during the time I was cut, I think it was the second time. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to be like The Rock and dabble in acting. Did you? Yeah. And so I remember, man, I got an offer. I knew a friend who was in PR and marketing, and they had connection with Tyler Perry's people. Yeah. And so they're like, Rennie, Tyler Perry's got this part open, and we think you'd be good for it. It's this cop role or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm thinking I'm gonna show up in a room. It's gonna be props. It's gonna be me. And I'm just gonna go in here and tear it up. And then I got the role. Yeah. Man, I showed up, and it was 12 other guys that looked just like me. And I was like, man, this is like a football workout. Right? And so obviously I didn't get the role, and I just was hurt. I was like, man, this is just like Man, so that made me realize that there's so many things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's entertainment as a whole, man.
Right.
But there's nowhere you're going to go where there's not going to be competition.
Exactly.
And, you know, that you're not going to face those no's. You're not going to be in that situation where you have to suck
Right.
and you have to build your way up.
Right.
And I would have done it, but it wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
And that's what I understand about, you know, football. Like, in order to overcome those challenges,
Yep.
you got to love it.
Yep.
You gotta be like
100%.
sold out and committed. I mean, regardless of how many no's you hear, you got to get up each and every day, and so
that's what it is. It's the passion, because people see the celebrity, people see you know, they already made it. They don't see how many no's and how many setbacks they had to get in order to get to that point.
Yeah.
And if you're not passionate about what you truly love doing in life, you're gonna crumble. Like, it's not what you truly love doing, because those no's are gonna come.
Yeah.
And it's the passion that pulls you through.
I totally agree. It's like gotta be to the point of insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
obsessed.
where
right?
obsessed, man. I mean, that's where I found myself in high school, like when I was trying to get that scholarship, when not one school was looking my way, you know, not even Georgia, the school that I would literally go up to Georgia before they ever gave me a scholarship. Yeah. I was 15 years old, and I used to go up there and just be like that annoying little brother to the point where some of the players would be like, man, aren't you supposed to be in school? Like, get out of here, like, basically. But I went up there, just consistently, and then I would get in the weight room, man, and kill myself, man. I left high school benching 425, squatting 515, cleaning 320 pounds. Like, some of those records still stand. But that's just the work that I put in, and you know, it set me apart. But I was relentless, man. 20 tackles a game, just doing whatever I had to do. And I've taken the same approach into the business world, and I feel like you got to be relentless. Like, at the end of the day, you got to be able to do whatever it takes, because nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
Right.
You know, and I think the another issue that we have too is we think that when we get to this point of success that it's going to be like the movies.
Right, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like,
I made it, you know, it's like
end credit roll.
Right.
You know, the credits roll and you just ride off into the sunset. And that's what I kind of thought, man. And we tend to forget that life still goes on, man. So even after I made it to NFL, the craziest thing was still hearing that you undersized, like, we don't know if we can, you know, bring you in for a workout. Like, you're not the typical size. Like, I had arguments with GM after GM, and I'm like, after all this, after I've been a 3-time All-American, you mean to tell me I'm still not big enough? Like, I still have to face this?
Right.
And even now, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, I had to start over. And that's one thing we don't realize as athletes or as entertainers or whatever you want to call it, the fact that when you step into a new industry or a new role or whatever, you have to humble yourself, man, to start over, to get that new coaching, to learn something new, to you know, talk to somebody who may not look like you or who may seem like they don't have anything in common with you. And so that hits people hard, you know, just facing that reality.
Yeah, and that's it. It's the process. It's always a process.
Right.
That's what I always say is, like,
it
doesn't stop. You know, and like, long as you know, you have. I like setting, like, huge goals for myself because I'm enjoying the process and getting there. And I think that when you can maintain, you know, that mindset, it's gonna pull you through no matter what people throw you. Because there's always gonna be somebody out there telling you that you're not good enough. There's gonna be haters out there.
Oh yeah,
you know. And I think, you know, and we kind of touched on this too, is, you know, being in a public you know, persona and being out there. We have a responsibility to kind of give back, right? As you know, sharing some of these struggles.
Definitely.
Because, like, I don't know about you, but, like, for me, like, I never had anybody in the entertainment, like, no one in my family's in the entertainment business. The first one out. I had no guidance, man. It was trial by fire. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
So like, I like, you know, giving content and giving information about, like, you know, some of my struggles, because when you do that, and you do that from a platform, man, I don't care how much money you can get. When somebody, like, messages you and says, hey, you changed my life.
Right. That's powerful.
Like, something you said, man, that's so powerful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's one of the greatest joys I get out of speaking, man, is like, you go somewhere, you might speak at a school, you might speak at a, you know, business or whatever it is, and then 5 years later you meet that same person that you impacted. You had no clue that they were even in the room, but you might run into them at Walmart or something, and it was like, man, I remember you. Like, this, it's so powerful just to know, like, your words have impact, and your actions, whatever you share on social media. And I want to share something, because you mentioned that process, and I believe just like it's a process to get to where you want to be, that process can also work against you. It can work in reverse. So I see so many people that they're going through that process of growth, they're going through that process of transformation, or whatever it is, and then I always compare it to the weight room. Right. So you build yourself up, you become the best version of yourself, you get to this point, you're getting the promotions, and all of a sudden you get there, you start working on that process, you start focusing on the little things that got you to where you are.
Right.
And it's all of a sudden the same thing reverse happens, the process of just declination, of crashing. And I see so many people go through that, especially entertainers. I look at musicians a lot, those who you see them release their first album, for example, and it's amazing. All of a sudden they hit that fame. What happens? Like that next album is trash. Like it doesn't even sound like the same artist.
Right.
And I mean, you
work.
can go on and on.
It's work.
Companies do the same thing. I mean, they have success, and then all of a sudden they stop innovating.
The number one thing is like if a company says it's always been done this way, that's
you're
a
done.
clear sign you're done.
You're done.
With the artists, like I think to your point, the first one is like that's their life. It's like what where they grew up. They're singing about all that. Well, after all that's out there, where do you go from there?
Right.
So you still need to innovate. You still need to have that edge because there is somebody younger and that's gonna hustle and that's gonna want to take your spot. The work never stops.
It never does,
So how can people connect with you, like on social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the number one way is, through any type of social media platform that I'm on, which is, Instagram. I respond to DMs that, cool. As long as they're not crazy. LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm on there. Cool. I'm very active on all of them, man. Twitter, Facebook, everything. And they can reach out to me through my website, which is just my name, RennieCurran.com. And I honestly love connecting with people, man. I love networking, relationship building. That's one of the things that I pride myself on, man, is connecting with people and then being a connector. So adding value to people by just connecting them with somebody who can help them.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Dude, I keep it up. Just getting out there and just speaking life and leadership over people is like it's changing the world. Like, and I really appreciate everything you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. And like I said, I had so many people that poured into me to get to this point. So for me at this point, it's an obligation. Like, something that I wake up every morning, I'm thinking about, how can I change this situation? How can I improve somebody else's life? And at the same time, I feel like it's always reciprocated. The more you give, the more you receive. So, I love it, man. And appreciate what you're doing as well.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the episode. If you guys enjoyed it, show some love, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe. Also, make sure you check out our exclusive C-Level group on Facebook.